আগে খান স্কুল শেষ করার পরে যেটা হয় যে আমার অনেক ফ্রেন্ডরা বাইরে পড়তে চলে যায় এবং আমি যেতে পারি নাই, and that was a big setback for me. I was very upset. Now you must be thinking আমার finance থেকে development studies থেকে international relations কেন, because আমি যেই জায়গাতে আমার ডেপথে জানার ইচ্ছা হয়েছে সেই জায়গায় I have resorted to academia. Because this was a mammoth of a problem, right? Like students are not achieving grade level competencies. There are so many factors that contribute to it. আমি কোন জায়গাটাতে কাজ করতে পারবো সেটা বুঝার চেষ্টা করছিলাম. I think I have I've merged my story with Alokito's story, which is also a big risk, but also shows like how embedded Alokito is in my life. See, memorization-based learning is not the big issue. Strictly memorization-based learning is the issue. Balancing work and Harvard is tough, but it's rewarding. When you're starting off, you probably don't know what question you'll ask. আমি প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করতে চাই, but আমি প্রশ্নটাই জানি না. Yeah, I mean, just balancing things, being mindful of more things. I think that's a challenge. As a male entrepreneur, হয়তো ওই social construct গুলাকে সবসময় চিন্তা করতে হচ্ছে না. So far, we have been able to impact over 17,000 teachers. Over 17,000 teachers have gone on to impact who teach over 500,000 students. Focusing on female founders, I think it would be to have an asset mindset and not a deficit mindset. Okay, you have a passion, that's amazing, but how it's important to combine data to back up your passion. And as you said, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs are watching it. So I'd recommend some books. Alhamdulillah, the challenges or the blessings or the rewards that I've had, I'm grateful for those.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Azwa Apu, for being with us from Boston. I know that you're overwhelmingly busy with your studies, with running to social enterprises and other engagement. But still, thank you very much for making time for us. So, yeah. And this is our first episode in our podcast, and I have very a selfish reason যে কারণে আমি আসলে পডকাস্টটা শুরু করতেছি, and I thought I will do justice if I can clarify those reasons কেন আমি শুরু করতেছি এই জিনিসটা. So what I believe in the process of having conversation with people like you, I'll get the chance to learn a lot এবং ওই লার্নিং গুলো disseminate করা, and you are one of those people who have challenged the status quo from the very beginning and probably crazy enough to think that you can change the world for better. So that is the whole philosophy. Amader podcast er naam hocche The Bridge, connecting the change maker. So thank you very much for being with us. So I just tried to Google about you and Alokito Hridoy Foundation, Alokito T-shirts. So I got a very big list. আমি কিছু just share করব সেটা হচ্ছে Azwa Nayeem, আপনি হচ্ছেন Acumen Fellow, one of the awardees of the early stage capital Acumen Angels program, which is very prestigious. You won a Better Tomorrow CSR Award 2022 last year for the contribution of Alokito Hridoy Foundation that it had in society. Currently, you are Masters in Education in Learning, Design, Innovation, and Technology candidate at Harvard Graduate School of Education, and you were also selected as the Chair of Governance. Lastly, as the only Bangladeshi social enterprise, you participated in the Unleash out of the 27 teams in 2022, and the list goes on. I tried searching for all the stuff, and this is astonishing achievement that you had. So I firmly believe that in order to understand a person, I need to understand your, to some extent, some relevant background, the earliest context from where you belong, because that is something that shapes us. So can you please take us back to your earliest context that is more relevant to the Azwa Nayeem that you see right now? So yeah, please.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be one of the guests of the first episode of the podcast, and I hope that together we can create something that's very beneficial for the aspiring entrepreneurs and the existing entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. পিছন থেকে যদি স্টার্ট করতে হয় তাহলে স্কুল থেকেই বলি। আমার স্কুলিং আগা খান স্কুল শেষ করার পরে যেটা হয় যে আমার অনেক ফ্রেন্ডরা বাইরে পড়তে চলে যায় এবং আমি যেতে পারি নাই, and my parents wouldn't allow that at that stage or at that age, and that was a big setback for me. I was very upset. But anyway, আমি নর্থ সাউথ ইউনিভার্সিটিতে পড়তে ঢুকি মনের কষ্টে এবং আমি because I got into North South, আমার একটা ইন্টেনশন ছিল যে, আর আমি বাইরে যেহেতু যেতে পারিনি, আমার ইন্টেনশন ছিল যে I'll try to make the most of it here. আমার ফ্রেন্ডরা যারা বাইরে যে অপরচুনিটি গুলো পাচ্ছে হয়তো আমি অতটুকু পাবো না, বাট আমি এখানে যত রকমের অপরচুনিটি পাওয়া যায় সেগুলোকে ইউটিলাইজ করতে চেষ্টা করবো। সো আমি ঢুকে I applied for scholarship. I got I got scholarship to study there. I got into the debate club. I started debating. I got into adjudication. I got award for that okhane, and then I did multiple internships. I worked with BRAC's WASH program. I worked with Agami Foundation at that point. And then Amar porashona chilo finance and accounting, which is very unrelated, but related in many ways. So finance and accounting shesh korar pore ami internship kori Mobil Exxon Mobil tokhon Mobil Jomuna Limited. I think localized hoye gechilo totodine. And then, so the reason why I started from there was because Amar Shopshmai, the kind of person that I am, is Ami Jay Jagatate achi okhane Ami kibhabe I can make the most of it. Ki opportunity exist kore ebong ogulake Ami kibhabe kaje lagiye nijer growth er jonno ebong nijer growth er jonno arki utilize korte pari. So that was North South, and then I completed. By the end of it, I find out that it was some kind of serendipity that I got a US residency through diversity visa, which I hadn't applied for, and was applied for me through my father's office. Ami tarpore America te ashi, at that point tokhon America te jai, and then I was staying in America. I was applying for masters, but that very year I got married. So I moved back to Bangladesh, and I kept going back and forth America because of my residency. And at that point, আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছিল আমেরিকাতে যে এডুকেশন পারসু করা আমার জন্য কতটা কনভিনিয়েন্ট হবে, but I did not want to stop learning. So I enrolled in BRAC University to do a master's in development studies. So BRAC-এ মাস্টার্স করতে সময় আমার যে আগের যে ইচ্ছাটা ছিল যে আমি বাইরে পড়তে চাই, আমি সেই অপরচুনিটি সেই এক্সপোজারটা পেতে চাই, সেটাকে I capitalized on that, and my husband, my family members were at that point, they were like, no, you really mean it, okay, go ahead. So আমি অস্ট্রেলিয়াতে পড়তে গেলাম and not America, which was an interesting thing because I recently got married and I did not want to get into a master's program that was too long, and Australia was offering me something that was short. So আমি ব্র্যাকেও মাস্টার্স করছিলাম. I took a pause. আমি অস্ট্রেলিয়াতে পড়ি international relations এর উপরে. Now you must be thinking আমার finance থেকে development studies থেকে international relations কেন? Because education has always been a pursuit of passion for me. আমি যেই জায়গাতে আমার ডেপথে জানার ইচ্ছা হয়েছে সেই জায়গায় I have resorted to academia. And যখন আমি ব্র্যাকে কাজ করেছি বা যখন আমি আগামীতে কাজ করেছি, at that point I was very interested to learn more about the development sector, and so I felt BRAC University would be the best place to learn about Bangladeshi development sector. So that's when I got enrolled in BRAC. And BRAC-এ পড়তে গিয়ে I learned that what big a role international politics plays in the development sector, funding and aid that comes into developing countries and so on. And I wanted to study the politics around that and the larger politics of the world. And so I moved into international relations. So international relations এর পড়া শেষ করলাম, ব্র্যাকের পড়া শেষ করলাম. I started teaching afterwards. North South I joined as a lecturer. That was my first proper job. And that was a very interesting experience because I was a North-South undergrad. And I was among my teachers as their colleague at this point. I was probably in my department, the youngest teacher. And it was a life-changing experience for me, but at the same time, over the semesters, I was getting a little frustrated because আমি পড়াতাম political science and international relations, and I needed my students to engage critically. And to a lot of times, I would find that my students struggled with articulation of thoughts. Maybe they're thinking critically, but they're not able to articulate it, whether it was verbally or in writing. And that gap really frustrated me. And I felt like it wasn't these students, because majority of them were struggling with it. It's probably the system. And I wanted to understand the system better. And so I, resorted to research. I found that, okay, research supported my concerns, that there was actually a gap, or students were not actually achieving grade level competencies. তো তখন আমি যেটা করলাম যে I went back to BRAC. I went to BRAC IED. I spoke with Dr. Iram Mariam, and I said, this is my research. I'm very interested to know more work in this field. Can you help me out? And she was very kind, and she gave me access to the BRAC schools. And I went and I observed and I learned. And I felt that, solving the education problem needs a design thinking approach. And so আমি যেটা করলাম যে ওকে আমি এই প্রবলেমটাকে নিয়ে কাজ করতে চাই, আমি এই প্রবলেমটাকে নিয়ে কাদের সাথে কাজ করতে পারি, who can be the right target population যাদের সাথে আমি এই প্রবলেমটার সলিউশন নিয়ে এক্সপেরিমেন্ট করতে পারি বা কাজ করতে পারি. Because this was a mammoth of a problem, right? Like students are not achieving grade level competencies. There are so many factors that contribute to it. আমি কোন জায়গাটাতে কাজ করতে পারবো সেটা বুঝার চেষ্টা করছিলাম. So I picked factory workers, children of factory workers, because আমার কাছে তখন মনে হয়েছিল যে এখনো মনে হয় যে বাংলাদেশের ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি এস্টাবলিশ হওয়ার পরে ওখানে যারা পড়তো, majority were children of cash crop producers. And when they graduated, they were like too educated to go back to becoming farmers, right? And so that was one of the reasons that led to the language movement. And their aspiration to achieve, to aspire, I felt aspiration gula was also there in the fact the factory workers and their children, like they may be blue collar job holders, but they want their children to be executives and having bank jobs and white collar jobs and so on. So I felt like they would be more keen to work with me in finding the solution. So I conducted surveys, I had like focus group discussions with them, and I came to the conclusion of course at this point I'll just string back in my school, because the reason I said about my school is because I went back to some of the teachers, my vice principal, and then I also shared with her what I was seeing and what I was thinking. And then, we came to the conclusion that is the light too much? It's the sunlight coming in.
No problem.
I'll let it be. So at that point, we realized that it would be good to have a pilot school where we can recreate the condition of any government primary school, and we can test different teaching learning approaches. And that's what we did. We, gathered support. ওখানে যে ল্যান্ডটা ছিল was of a local individual. উনি আমাদেরকে just leased it out, did not take any money from us. I got help from my friends and my family to just build a makeshift version and just to get started with it. When we started, we saw that was Alokito Hridoy Foundation, Alokito Hridoy School. It started with Alokito Hridoy School in Tangail, Korai. And initially it was K through grade 3, and kindergarten through grade 3. আমরা ওখানে লোকাল টিচার্সদেরকে রিক্রুট করলাম, ওখানকার ফ্যাক্টরি ওয়ার্কারদের, মেজরিটি ফ্যাক্টরি ওয়ার্কারদের ছেলে মেয়ে। এবং what really stood out to me at that point was a very dictatorial classroom environment. Very one-sided communication, very a scary classroom seemed like a very scary place. So what we did at the very start was to use local games to teach students. We started providing training to teachers, how they can use, just basic, like whatever they used to, the students are used to playing, they could use those to teach. And that helped turn the classroom into a joyful space. And I felt like initially যে জায়গায় একটা dictatorial relationship ছিল, ওই জায়গাটাতে, student teacher relationship build হওয়া শুরু করলো. Students started reaching out to teachers for their little demands, little problems, and teachers also started enjoying the classrooms. Like, sometimes they would play, sometimes they would ask the students to take the lead. So a lot of the things were happening organically, where students were also taking the lead. That gave us the confidence to, আমাদের যে initial একটা premise ছিল যে আমরা স্কুলটাকে তৈরি করব, আমরা এখান থেকে শিখবো, এবং আমরা যেটা শিখবো সেটা আমরা অন্যান্য স্কুলে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব। Instead of creating like 100 other schools or like 50 other schools, what can we scale very quickly to the existing schools that need reformation? So we reached out to the government Directorate of Primary Education. It was a long journey, but a relatively successful one. We were able to forge a partnership, and we got into government primary school in Tangail to pilot our education approach. So that was another struggle. এবং ওখানে যখন আমরা গেলাম, of course আমরা গভর্নমেন্টের পারমিশন নিয়ে যাচ্ছি, DPE, Director of Primary Education এর পারমিশন নিয়ে যাচ্ছি, which took us like about 9-10 months of like constant back and forth. But কিন্তু ওখানে যে the teachers, it took us time to build a relationship with the teachers. That was interesting. That was a great learning. But then eventually what happened was the teachers found it useful, and found it useful because it was taking burden off their shoulder. A lot of the students who wouldn't come to classes prepared, they were actually preparing for class because they wanted to play those games and they wanted to win in those games. So that was helping them.
So education was less scary then.
Yeah, it was something that they looked forward to. And then আমাদের যেটা মনে হলো যে okay, fine, there's a joyful learning environment, but what about, I think I have like, I've merged my story with Alokito's story, I think, which is also a big risk, but also shows like how embedded Alokito is in my life and in me. So I'll just quickly get back. And at that point, আমার কাছে যেটা মনে হচ্ছিল যে okay, there's a joyful learning environment, but what about memorization based learning? Strictly memorization based learning is not the big issue. Strictly memorization based learning is the issue. If students have the independence and autonomy to decide আমি কতটুকু memorize করতে চাই, আমি কোনটা কিভাবে পড়তে চাই, if they have a like if they're aware of strategies to do that, then that's fine. But if it is strictly rote-based learning, then there is an issue, and we wanted to shift from that, and we wanted to build critical thinking skills, creativity, and communication skills in students. And then at that point, we adapted problem-based learning into our local context, which is how can we use local problems to teach students content from science and global studies and so on, So we piloted that first year, second year, we got the attention of A2I, and they came and saw the implementation. They were happy with it, and they wanted to take it to their teachers. At that point, we designed courses and workshops for government school teachers and head teachers on problem-based learning. So that gave us the confidence that, or the realization that teachers need our workshops or teachers could benefit from our program. So yeah, and that's also when we started providing it to other schools, private schools in Tangail, other than not just government schools, but also private schools. And then gradually Alokito teachers came into play.
So the birth of Alokito teachers was more of an organic thing, like the addressing a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Because at that point, it felt like teachers would be the best catalyst of change or the best flag bearers of these approaches. And then they can catalyze their communities with those approaches. In the meantime, Amar ekhane kichu well, I took up a few opportunities. Ekta hocche giye je jokhon ami kaj kora shuru kori, I faced some challenges, and I felt as an entrepreneur, as I said, I've always resorted to academia when I've either for passion or for challenges that I've faced or for questions that I've had. So in the meantime, I did 2 executive programs at the Harvard Kennedy School. Ekta hocche ki I studied in the art and practice of leadership. Art hocche ki leadership in the 21st century. The reason being, I realized that the problem that I was trying to tackle, it was a systemic issue. Maybe I was taking a microscopic or micro approach to it, but there is a macro lens to it. And to understand that better, to be able to, take more into the room with my colleagues at the government sector, at the policy tables, I needed to learn and know more to drive change from the grassroots to the systems level. Yeah, and then I guess as Alokito teachers started progressing, we started adding components to it. And I realized that I am a teacher, I am an educator, but I need more academic strength. And I felt, I've had a weakness for Harvard. And I felt this would be a good place to, hone my skills and build my knowledge in, teaching, learning, and whatever I was working on. So here I am. I hope I have covered it.
Yeah, you have covered it nicely. So apne ekhon Harvard probably is one of the most amazing achievements that someone can dream of. Apnar jonno, what do you think? How getting into Harvard has affected you positively or negatively, on a personal or professional level? Because I just don't want to say, "Hey, bhai, Harvard আসছেন, life change হয়ে গেছে," and you, because what I understand, যে Harvard আসা মানে হচ্ছে you are dealing with a lot of study, lot of assignments and everything. সাথে সাথে হচ্ছে আপনার 2টা enterprise আপনার চালাতে হচ্ছে. So how are you dealing with all that stuff right now?
It's crazy. I wake up at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Regularly, and but I sleep well. I'm on early gumai, so I'm basically a grandma. I sleep by 9 p.m. and I wake up at 3:30. But no, balancing work and Harvard is tough, but it's rewarding because ekhane, the tagline is learn to change the world. So I feel like I am connected to my world, and being able to take what I'm learning and virtually pass it to my world, it's rewarding. And I'm trying to do that. And I think Harvard, so definitely knowledge jagatato, it's inevitable, right? The way I've tried to, Harvard gives you the liberty to design your track, your route, or how you want to design your journey. So the way I've designed my journey is more based on skill set that I want to build as a as an entrepreneur, as an educator, as someone in the edtech field. So I'm happy. I wouldn't say happy, because Harvard থাকলে সবসময় you're in a state of FOMO, as they call it, like fear of missing out. There's so much happening in a given day, and there are so many opportunities in a given day that you're always just missing out, and you have to be okay with that, because you can only stretch yourself out so much. But so knowledge, skills, and I feel a big community of like-minded people, of amazing professors and peers, and yeah, so I think it's still, also I do believe that it's a bubble, and um and I constantly keep reminding myself that it's important to have the humility to adapt to the world that I come from. Yeah.
Humility, that's a very important lesson. So right now, you are in Harvard. ঠিক আছে, so আপনি একদম ডিরেক্টলি হ্যান্ডস অন আলোকিত হৃদয় ফাউন্ডেশন, আলোকিত টিচার্স প্রবাবলি দেশে থেকে ম্যানেজ করতে পারতেছেন না। So this is a challenge. But if we go back to your past, what do you think from the very beginning till now? What are the, I would say, let's say, top 3 challenges for, like, when you wanted to build Alokito Hridoy Foundation, Alokito Teachers? It's like একটা আপনি বলেছেন যে the dealing with the bureaucratic process is sometimes it took time, but it was probably worth it. But if you want to mention apart from that, top 3 challenges, সেগুলো কি হতে পারে?
I think একটা হচ্ছে guidance, মানে when people start fresh, guidance is a big challenge. আমরা মনে করি ওকে আমার ফান্ডিং নাই বা আমার resources কম, of course those are there, but if I get the right guidance, then ওগুলা কেউ navigate করা সম্ভব. Knowing where to find the right guidance, knowing where to get certain mentors who can help build you and help you build your organization, your dream. So I think finding the right guidance, and I think also navigating through a resource, like what about bootstrapped? Bootstrap. What does that feel like? What does that look like? You have very little, but you have big dreams. So how do you navigate that? Few people, limited funding, big dreams, limited capacity. So I think that's also a challenge. And then funding definitely is a challenge. But funding সব সময় challenge থাকে, it is এটা সব সময় থাকবে. Yeah, and also I think being able to zoom in and zoom out. What I mean by that is going, focusing and improvising on the quality of your work, but also zooming out to see how is all that work related to the why of your organization. How is all that contributing to your vision, both visibly and also like in the long term, visibly in the short and medium term, but also in the long term.
So in terms of mentoring, I'm just active challenge, but I just need to go a bit deeper. How did you navigate this challenge regarding guidance, mentorship? How did you really navigate this challenge? Who were people? Because what I understand, because since we work with a lot of young founders, তাদের জন্য mentorshipটা was very crucial, and it's a like very strong component of our any kind of program design যেটা আমরা আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনে করি। So যখন আপনি mentorship খুঁজতেছিলেন, what was the defining moment?
It's honestly, it's very hard, because when you're starting off, you probably don't know what question you'll ask. মানে আমি প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করতে যাই, but আমি প্রশ্নটাই জানি না. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Everything is so complex. Like everything seems, but everything seems like, of course, there are things that are overlapping. There are things that are patterns. You understand things, but it becomes so difficult to articulate them, because you're constantly fearing, am I the only one experiencing this? Will I be the odd one out? So I think ওই সময় আমি কার কাছে যাব, যেই বা কি বলবো, ওই চিন্তাটা অনেক কাজ করে, এবং will I seem credible after that? আমার আইডিয়াটার কি ভ্যালু থাকবে ওটার পরে? So I think how I tried to resolve this was একটা হচ্ছে কি, যেটা বললাম, যে আমার যারা টিচার্স ছিল, আমার যারা ট্রাস্টেড ফ্রেন্ডস ছিল, তাদের কাছে যাও, but at the same time I have always like looked for structured institutions or support, which is different accelerators. Just talked about Unleash. We went to Y Gap. That was back in 2018. I think that was the first time they did it. They did an accelerator. This is an accelerator based out of Asia Pacific. They had their headquarters in Australia. They launched it in Bangladesh. They ran it for a couple of years. They're still there. I think they've 2018 they launched it for women. So সেই বছরে যখন আমি গেলাম, I got a very structured support, and then Acumen Academy was really useful in like honing my skills, understanding, connecting me with a community of, fellows who are working on highly complex problems. So you immediately get like your tribe, your people that who are experiencing similar problems, and then unleash. And I think like I have always like ওই জিনিসটা খুবই important, যে একটা structured but also unstructured. And I have a great pool of directors, board of directors, who are always looking out for me, supporting me, and I can just go back to them for guidance. So selecting the board of directors, there's a variety of people from academia, teachers, entrepreneurs, businessmen, people from the government. So people from like government working, like civil service background. So yeah, I think more or less those would be it. Yeah.
So talking about challenges, we know, man, this is probably a bit sensitive topic. Being a woman, what were like challenges? আপনার মনে হচ্ছে যে হ্যাঁ, probably আপনি যদি woman founder না হতেন, এই ধরনের challenges আপনার face করতে হতো না. So is there anything you can mention? Because we day in day out we deal with a lot of women founders যারা বলতে থাকে যে the society, the status quo, we face a lot of issues. So how to navigate those?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a female founder, একটা হচ্ছে যে you definitely need support from your family. Family support না থাকলে এটা খুব কঠিন হয়ে যায়. And also making them a part of the journey, that so that a lot of the times family দিক থেকে যেটা challenge আসে, of course there's the customary or traditional part of it, but also their fear যে of you navigating the roads as a woman, and we know the challenges that are out there. So making them part of the journey was, but at the same time, like I remember আমি স্কুলে একদিন বসেছিলাম and sitting next to, so we're the coordinator of the school at that point and me, we were sitting next to each other and we were working on something. So one of the parent comes in and then he starts talking to him as like he's the head of the school, and that was usually the case when I went, and it's difficult for people to sometimes digest and be okay with female leaders, and at the same time that is there, but at the same time they also when they find out, they also try to I think doubt you more, or doubt your dedication or passion or resilience more. যে ও আচ্ছা, আপনি তো আপনার যখন ফ্যামিলি হবে তখন আপনি কি করবেন? So you always have those questions, and at the same time I think yeah, I mean just balancing things, being mindful of more things. I think that's a challenge. As a male entrepreneur, হয়তো ওই সোশ্যাল কনস্ট্রাক্ট গুলাকে সবসময় চিন্তা করতে হচ্ছে না যে আমি এই কথাটা একটা মেল কলিগকে বললে সে কি ভাববে, বা আমি একজন ফান্ডিং দিবে তার সাথে যে কথা বললে what should be my approach, বা এটা সোসাইটি কিভাবে নিবে. So there are a lot of dynamics that as a woman, any female like working professional faces these, I think. I think with varying severity, but we face it.
So coming back to the journey of Alokito Hridoy Foundation and Alokito teachers, so can you please share some of the most recent achievements? আমি হচ্ছে অনেক লম্বা একটা লিস্ট ফার্স্টে পেয়েছি, শেয়ার করেছি, বাট জাস্ট আপনি যদি জাস্ট বলতেন what is like Alokito Hridoy Foundation is up to right now.
I think it always makes me a little uncomfortable যেটার জন্য Alokito suffers. Well, Acumen Angels opportunity is definitely something big for us. We're looking to build our innovation around Alokito teachers with that. We're also in the running for Harvard President's Innovation Challenge, and we are the semi-finalist. And we've in our school we launch incrementally. We launch a grade every year. শুরু হয়েছিল grade 3 থেকে, তারপরে 4, 5. So this year we launched grade 9. We're looking forward to our students sitting for board exams, SSC and so on, if that exists next year. Then and more or less, these are that, but just a very uncomfortable question for me, I think.
আপনি এই কোয়েশ্চেনটাতে সবচেয়ে বেশি আনকমফোর্টেবল ফিল করবেন না, আই ইন্টেনশনালি আস্ক ইট। সো যদি ধরেন যারা আমাদের অডিয়েন্স যারা এটা দেখবেন তারা আলোকিত হৃদয় ফাউন্ডেশন অথবা আলোকিত টিচার্স ছিলেন না, সো what is the most impactful thing you have done as of now? মানে আপনি বিশ্বাস করেন যে this is the most impactful thing?
Right. So because you said a lot of people may not know, of course they may not know about Alokito Hridoy Foundation by Alokito teachers. Let me just give a quick background to it. Alokito Hridoy Foundation runs a school where the school caters to children of factory workers. It's a low-cost, we call it low-cost charter school. We concept Nawa, where we test different teaching learning approaches to see what works best in ensuring quality education, in low-cost spaces. And then we collect data from students, teachers, trainers to assess the outcome, and we take the best or most effective approaches and scale it through Alokito teachers. The idea behind Alokito teachers is to transform the quality of teaching, and we do that by providing online courses, workshops, teacher coaching, and throughout using metrics and rubrics to assess the improvement in teaching quality. So our Alokito teachers provides need-based services. We identify the needs of the teachers and match them with relevant courses and workshops. We say that it's evidence-based because we take evidence-based practices from the school and then provide it to teachers. And we say that it's personalized because based on the needs and the prior knowledge of the teachers, prior experience of the teachers, we customize the journey of a particular school. So far, we have been able to impact over 17,000 teachers out of, and these 17,000, over 17,000 teachers have gone on to impact, who teach over 500,000 students. And out of these 17,000 teachers, we have directly worked with and provided workshop with over 1,600 teachers. So that's so far, I think, numeric impact, quantitative impact, Alokito Hridoy Foundation.
That is an amazing achievement. So যদি একটু সংখ্যায় বলতেন, what is your plan for the future, like next 5 years? What is your plan?
সংখ্যায়, I think let me give you an overall picture, which is basically দুইটা ভাগে যদি বলি, আলোকিত হৃদয় স্কুলে আমরা যে একটা এডুকেশন মডেল প্রোটোটাইপ করার চেষ্টা করছি, সেটাকে স্কেল করা ইন আদার স্কুলস। এই প্রোটোটাইপটার কে স্কেল করা চিন্তা আমাদের মেইনলি 3টা কম্পোনেন্টের মাধ্যমে। একটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে ওয়ার্কবুক, report card, and student report card, and teacher development. So the workbook and report card, these are underpinning literacy, numeracy, and 21st century skills requirements of students. And the teacher development will be scaled through Alokito teachers, where we want to reach, I think going back to the quantitative bit, we want to reach 500 schools and 50,000 teachers in the next 2 years. A little conservative goal because we want to be mindful of the quality that we're being able to carry out. So yeah, that's the vision, scaling the work so that we can reach, even the remotest parts of the country and reach the highest need schools in Bangladesh.
Yeah, I guess on a personal level, I know that you have been always focusing on quality rather than quantity, and probably it is also reflected in your enterprise's numbers. So that there are encouraging numbers. Whatever achievements you have, those are, mashallah, very encouraging. So if you have to give like advice to the young founders, probably focusing on the women founders, what would be your advice? Like top 3 or top 5?
Focusing on female founders, I think it would be to have an asset mindset and not a deficit mindset. What I mean by an asset mindset is there will be challenges. How can I use that? How can I try to see the positive side of it, see that as an opportunity, and see that as a way of growing myself and my dream. So of course, people have said to me that, they're not sure about my commitment. And I took that as an opportunity to, make myself more committed. But at the same time, I have, tried to empathize with them because maybe they have never gotten that themselves. So I think as women, we're also I have always said this, and I am a firm believer that we are socially, emotionally intelligent. So using your skills when you're leading a team, when you're working with a community, empathizing well, and connecting well to understand the problem so that you can solve the problem well. Yeah, so that's, I think it's also universal. It can apply to male entrepreneurs too.
True. So yeah, like having an asset mindset, this is probably a very valuable advice. So what do you think, like আপনার চোখে যারা successful founder, I mean, just from a very personal perspective, what are the key traits that make them successful?
Mm-hmm. Sure. But I definitely, this is, I don't, how do I frame it? I'm not very knowledgeable. I'm just going to, I'm going to try to quote people who I admire and I look up to, and I find very knowledgeable. And I guess some of the, like, to begin with, as I said, humility is very important to me. And something that Adam Grant talks about in his book, Think Again. He says that, you can wear different, like, he talks about 4 different kinds of hats, like having a preacher's hat, having a prosecutor's hat, having a politician's hat, having a scientist's hat. So when you're a preacher, you know that you're right, and you're trying to preach that to everyone. When you're a prosecutor, you want to, like, prove others wrong. When you're a politician, you're trying to gain everybody's vote, right? But when you're a scientist, you have humble curiosity, and you're open to change, you're open to learning, you're open to growing, and that's when you experience the most amount of growth. So, referring to Adam Grant and his idea about wearing the scientist's hat when you're solving a problem, I think being empathetic is very important, because entrepreneurs these days are trying to tackle complex problems, which requires understanding the people who are experiencing the problem and expanding the scope, right? Like, let's not just go and speak with like-minded people. Oh, I'm experiencing the problem, that means this is a big problem. No, there has to be a big community that's experiencing the problem, and I need to go and I need to expose myself to the community. I need to ask questions and I need to find out, and that's how, like, I can empathize with their problems and be able to solve it, and essentially like falling in love with the problem and not the solution. So practicing empathy. And I think like a data-driven mindset, combining research with action. Combining research, no. There's a great TED talk by Matt Wallart. He talks about the science of behavioral change. I really recommend people to watch it, because it talks about how it's important. Okay, you have a passion, that's amazing, but how it's important to combine data to back up your passion. যে আমি যে সমস্যাটাকে ভাবছি, সমস্যাটা আসলে ডেটা দ্বারা প্রুভেন, এটা সমস্যা। অফকোর্স আমি এমপ্যাথেটিক ইন্টারভিউজ করলাম, বা ডেটা দ্বারা প্রুভেন। আমার সলিউশনটাকে আমি ডেটা দ্বারা কতটুকু দাঁড়া করাতে পারি, এবং তারপরে ওটার উপরে অ্যাক্ট করা। সো প্যাশন, ডেটা অ্যান্ড সলিউশন, বিং ডেটা ড্রিভেন and being hardworking. I think like, there's a saying that something like the harder you work, the luckier you get. I think so. There's a saying like that, and being gritty and resilient. And what I mean by resilient is life is going to throw as they say, like lemons, or how do you make lemonades out of it? Life is going to throw challenges at you. How do you come out of it better and stronger? And as you said, like, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs are watching it. So I'd recommend some books, which is Guy Kawasaki's The Art of the Start, Eric Ries, The Lean Startup, and there are many other books, and also Think Again by Adam Grant. So I'd really recommend. It's great. It's, I think, also, I guess, being mindful of the day and age that we are in, সবার attention span অনেক কম. So, if reading books is not your thing, find someone who, shares these nuggets of wisdom on YouTube or LinkedIn, and learn from them. It's very important to find role models. In the field of education, I've looked up to some people and I followed them, and I try to understand their thinking, their, principles behind coming up with the solution that they're working on. So I think it's important to have role models as well.
Yeah, like those are really important. I mean, এর মধ্যে একটা জায়গায় যে I want to probably have more clarification অথবা আপনার চিন্তাটা, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনি যেখানে বলেছেন যে be more data driven, সেই জায়গায় বিভিন্ন সময় আমাদের বিভিন্ন ইয়াং ফাউন্ডারদের সাথে যখন আমরা কথা বলি যে ভাইয়া ডেটা তো পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না, ডেটা কই পাবো, কি করব না করব, তো গভর্নমেন্টে তো এই ডেটা নাই, ওই ডেটা নাই। সো হাউ ডু ইউ ডিল উইথ ইট?
So okay, let me take it in this way. First, হচ্ছে যদি secondary dataর কথা থাকে, locally যদি secondary data না থাকে, look for international data. We are not the only country experiencing this problem, and you're not the only one with this solution. Trust me. People have thought of this problem. People have come up with solutions around the world. So look at secondary data globally to see what is happening in similar context. বাংলাদেশের সাথে যাদের কনটেক্সট সিমিলার, সেই জায়গায় কি হচ্ছে এবং সেই জায়গায় কিভাবে মানুষ ওটাকে সলভ করার চেষ্টা করেছে। That's the secondary bit. And then primary research হচ্ছে কি, you can always go and speak to your target population, to your users, and that they are going to give you, I mean, the kind of data that is so vital to being successful. এবং not limiting yourself to interviewing the people who seem like, like who seem agreeable, who you have
Having the
some,
confirmation bias.
yeah, exactly. Being aware of your confirmation bias and just going out of the way to speak with anybody and everybody who may be experiencing the problem. So collect data. I think we are even from here, I think since like even last week I spoke with a principal. So every week I have an interview with a principal. I think it's very important to know and understand what your users are thinking.
Despite being there, you were having conversation with the principal. So that's a learning. That's a very good learning for us. So I know Apu, you're very busy. So the last question I promise, সেটা হচ্ছে যে, so Azwa Nayeem, এখন যেখানে আছেন সেখানে যদি আপনাকে অপরচুনিটি দেওয়া হতো যে ভাই পিছনে যাই, আমরা অনেক একদম আপনার চাইল্ডহুডে যাই, অতটুকু পর্যন্ত যে আপনাকে চান্স দেওয়া হতো এবং বলা হতো যে what is the one thing that you would like to change, আদৌ আপনি কিছু চেঞ্জ করতে চাইতেন কিনা, নাকি ভাই যা আছে আলহামদুলিল্লাহ গুড?
So the sort of person that I am, I feel like the path that I have traded, the path that I have walked was meant for me. Alhamdulillah, the challenges or the blessings that or the rewards that I've had, I'm grateful for those. The rewards have helped me feel better, motivated. The challenges have helped me, grow faster. So I would not change a thing. I'm grateful for, both. And I hope to extract lessons from each events, each incidents that I have experienced in life. And I hope to use that for becoming a better me.
Okay, so probably that is the application of having the asset mindset, not a deficit mindset. So yeah, so it was like an amazing discussion. Probably I'm just first I had the selfish reason, and this was like the first discussion without any kind of prep and everything. And I believe I took a lot of notes. Currently, these are something that become an asset for me in the future. And I would like to thank you very much for your time and your wisdom and everything. And I strongly believe, like I'm a fan of your work, the work that's Alokito Hridoy Foundation and Alokito teachers have been doing for last many years. And I really wish that mashallah onek dure jaben. I strongly believe that. Thank you, Apu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation too, and look forward to connecting when I'm back in Dhaka, inshallah.
Sure. Yeah.
All the best.